Own your next move. Bold moves in business and life. Every successful story begins with a bold decision. Join me, Jennifer McPherson, as I uncover conversations with entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators about pivotal moments that shape their journey. Authentic insights, inspiring lessons, and practical wisdom to help you own your own next. Welcome to Own Your Next. I'm Jennifer McPherson. I didn't start my first business until I was 48. I spent decades behind the scenes and decided to give it a go at owning my own next move. Since then, I've built companies, navigated real setbacks, and learned firsthand that success is far more about mindset rather than timing, talent, or even luck. Marc leads Wild Story Media, a Boulder-based storytelling and content strategy company that helps brands stand out by creating real, authentic connections. They're not your typical corporate agency. They focus on making you memorable, making you laugh, and making sure you feel that you have every dollar invested. Marc, welcome to the show.
Trevor, thank you for having me. It's really an honor to be here. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. So the first question that I have for you is how you started in Hollywood working on scripts and took that and turned it into building a branding agency in Colorado.
Yeah. And so, I always feel a little silly talking. I mean, it's so long ago, but it is like very foundational to who I am and where I've come. But yeah, when I left college, I had studied English literature and film. So what are you going to do with that? All my friends were, becoming investment bankers or doctors or lawyers or whatever. I went to University of Michigan, and I drove out to LA, and I didn't have any contacts or anything like that. And I just started banging on doors. And really, I think one of the cornerstone kind of ethoses of my life, and when I tell young people now, if they ask me for advice, which they probably shouldn't, but they do, is just get to the middle of the action, to where the action is, where the industry is. And you might not get that thing that you want to do in terms of a job. Look, I wanted to be a writer and a filmmaker. My very first job was driving film around for a Disney theme park. But what it allowed me to do is I got into, Los Angeles, I got an apartment, and I also got, by chance, this wasn't part of the plan, an all access parking pass to all the big lots like Disney and 20th Century Fox and things like that. And I used to park, and I was waiting for film, and I'd walk up and down the studio, and I'd pop my head into offices. Now I laughed that I even did that. I'd probably get arrested if I did that today. I was like, hey, I'm Marc, and I want to do this. And that led to this really amazing opportunity where I landed a job as the story editor for Oliver Stone's company, and that at that time was called Illusion Entertainment. So an amazing experience. Stories, and I won't get too much into it, but stories and filmmaking and movies were just like always my favorite thing. I was kind of a film nerd. I'd go, and I grew up in Michigan. It was super hot in the summer. My mom would drop me off with a friend at the movie theater for the first matinee, and I'd leave at 10 o'clock at night. I'd go hop different movies and stuff like that. So doing that, I just realized that one of the big realizations I had in the movie business, it really is a business. And if I wanted to do that, it wasn't going to be easy, A, and B, I'd have to be in Los Angeles the rest of my life. And I kind of wanted to see some other things. And anyone that knows me knows that outdoor lifestyle, getting outside, playing outside is a huge part of my life. And that's ultimately what brought me to Colorado. I came here to sort of take a break and never left.
Yeah.
And real quickly, there was this crazy thing happening in Boulder where there was this big startup scene happening. And I was like, wow, these people are super cool. They're way cooler than, any movie stars I met. These people are like building businesses and doing all this cool stuff. So I actually started I worked for a technology company for a little bit, kind of saw what was going on, again, got in the middle of the action. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Saw opportunity, started a tech company that sold telecommunication services, like kind of what we're doing right now here on Riverside or a Zoom or something like that. It was conferencing first on the phone and then on the web before it became commoditized. Built that up. I think sheerly because I was naturally like a marketer, naturally a brander, things like that. I wasn't great at telecom or anything like that.
Yeah.
And in parallel, I was always looking for this reconnection back to storytelling and a lot of different things happened, but what I came to realize was that really how I approach brand and brand strategy, it's really this narrative view and this narrative strategy of a business. That's how I incorporated it. And that's just what I really love to do today is like really dig deep and get into, what is the story of the brand? What makes it interesting, right? Like I'm working with a new client right now that is 25 years old and they're a shoe company. And at one point their shoes were super innovative. But what happens if we're super innovative, especially over 25 years?
Yeah.
Like everyone copies you and now there's all these entrants. And like I was on the call yesterday with the client and they're like, yeah, 25 years ago, it's really hard to be a shoe company. So like now, like a couple $1,000s and you can, have something specced out overseas, sent and, put it on your Shopify. So, I mean, it's like, right. And so like more than ever, like the narrative and the positioning and the why and who you are as the consumer, whether it's B2C or B2B, when you're using that product is more relevant than ever. And so that's where I'm at right now. You caught me on a good day. I'm very bullish about, like, I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling strong about narrative storytelling in business, but catch me any other day and I could tell you a different story.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the life of an entrepreneur. Let's just face that, right? Every day is a lot different from the day before. So I think that's, for people like us, that's kind of what we thrive in. It's kind of fun. But yeah, no, that's really interesting. And it's definitely jumping in to anything I think is healthy for everyone to do. I mean, I encourage my kids to do that constantly because I think that gives you an opportunity to learn, A, I want to do this thing, or B, I absolutely hate this thing and I'm going to go and jump in here and try to immerse myself and figure it out, right? I think it's the biggest learning lesson that any of us could have. And I think that's really cool that you did that when you went out to LA. That sounds very interesting. I could just see you sitting there in the parking lot waiting, like, I'm going to go talk to this person. I know that this is their job, like kind of stalking them. Oh, hey, hi, how are you?
Yeah. And you never just know, like, you go through one door and what that's going to open up, right? I usually use the metaphor of like mountains and aperture, but like, you climb the mountain and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize there were 10 other mountains behind this mountain. And then you go climb that and like it keeps opening, right? But the only way you can do it is by climbing that mountain or going through a door or having an experience. And I don't know about you, but usually the reality rarely matches my fantasy or my vision, right? And so getting out to Hollywood and seeing how it really worked as an example, what jobs would be, I mean, at any given time, I was like, oh, maybe I'll be a cinematographer. They seem like they make a lot of money, kind of bumped around that, explored that. I was like, nope, that's not going to, like the fantasy of sitting there with the camera and being really smart versus the reality of the technicality of it. And just wasn't for me. Right. And so I think that in all sort of stages of our career, like really getting firsthand knowledge of what the actual work is like is so important because it rarely matches the sort of fantasy, right? Like, everyone thinks, hey, you got a branding agency. Like I thought I'd just be like hanging out by pinning up beautiful creative design on boards and talking with people and being, let's talk about, that's not what it is, as you know. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of boring work sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Basically, a lot of people say, stand out. You got to stand out. And especially in today's world, as you were mentioning before, it is a very different world than like 20 years ago, like very different. You have social media, you're competing against, as you said, anyone can, in today's world, anyone can start anything like that quickly. So how do you, practically speaking, what does that actually look like today to stand out? Like, how do you stand out? How do you write a story to make sure that your brand is being presented, or your story behind your brand? How do you all approach that? Yeah.
And so I'll respectfully counter a little bit that I don't think it's all about standing out. Okay. I think it is in certain industries, right? So if like you're in CPG and you're at Whole Foods, standing out matters. Your package is your thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you have to have a good food product or whatever, but like you've got this like moment and there's a whole science to it. And this is definitely not I've worked in this, but it's not my area of expertise, but like you got to stand out, right? Like that's a standout situation.
Yeah.
What I'd counter more is with and say what really the objective is you need to find your people. And you need to find who you're for. And like, that is the most important thing. And like being crystal clear on who you're for. And I'm sure you see this all the time. Where most businesses are stuck is they're trying to be all things to all people. They don't want to leave money on the table. I mean, it is business, right? So unless you're a .org, we are here to make money, but there's this like blend in science of being, economically responsible, using the data, but also like who you for, like who, and I'll use this shoe company as an example. Like who are you when you put on those shoes? Who do you think you're going to become when you buy a pair of shoes? And that can even go into B&B tech, right? Like we think about project management and we think of all these tools like, in a lot of ways, it's like, who are you? Like, and who are you aligned for? Anthropic just saw a massive spike in activity. Why? Because they stood up to the government and they decided that they weren't going to and that was like a story about Anthropic and about Claude. Right now, look, you can also say like, it's not just about storytelling. You have to have a good product. You have to serve a need and solve a problem.
Yeah.
But I really do think in more and more it's about, because the world's so big, the way we consume content and stories and narrative is so big. It used to just be your storefront or your package. Then it was just your website. Right now it's like, websites, I think are important for some businesses, not as important for others. People are consuming, content. People can, at least on a consumer basis, you get an influencer who shows you something and tells you a story about something. That's going to be way more power. And the website you go to is crappy, right? I mean, how many times does this happen? But you buy it anyways. You're like, whatever, I want this thing, you know? So really, being very clear about who you are, what you do, the value you offer, and who you're for, I think that's more or less how you stand out, because most people aren't doing that. Most people are very confusing. A lot of businesses, especially in the services businesses, right? Like in our business, it's very hard to like differentiate, and everyone's kind of saying the same thing. We're groundbreaking, customer service, like blah, blah, blah. So, I guess I'll wrap this up in saying that also it's just being true to yourself and being authentic. Like try, like that's the only thing that you can really do. And when you do that, it's scary. It's personal. It means that people aren't going to like you and you might get some negative feedback. That's all okay, but it doesn't make it any easier, right? Like we don't want to, we don't like that. I'm very sensitive about stuff like that and nervous to put myself out there as well a lot of times. But yeah, I think finding your people is more important than standing out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right there. Next, biggest question of the day, and you kind of mentioned Anthropic. How do you see AI right now changing branding and storytelling over the next few years, which is very difficult to predict because AI is moving faster than the speed of light, it feels like. And what should businesses and business owners, I guess, be paying attention to right now when it comes to AI?
Yeah, so a couple things. I think that, we were talking about this pre-show when AI first happened. I was like, oh man, like this is not a thing, or just it's not authentic, or it's not going to work. Over time, I've totally changed that. I mean, I spend almost all day, every day using AI. I guess currently my general thought on it is I'm not very concerned about it if you're like, hey, just come up with a brand story for me, right? Certainly, it will do that for you. You can put it on your website. It's all like You can check that box if you want. But I've yet to see it be really resonant, to be really thoughtful, to be just a real competitor. Now, I use it all the time, but where I think AI is today is, you need those inputs. You need that information. You really need to use it as a partner. Now, granted, it will write super fast. I mean, I have a body of work that I can train it with, right? So like, I feel very fortunate. I'm very curious and sometimes like a little worried and sad for like the next generation, because if they're not going to have their own body of work, their own original thoughts. So now I can train Claude or, OpenAI and on all my writing samples and things like that. And so now what I can do, right, is go in, and if I'm writing a brand narrative, I can take all my work and all that kind of stuff and load it in and say, hey, like, here's my script style, here's my narrative style, this is the hook I want. What do you got, right? And a lot of times it'll give me a pretty good first draft. So I think like from that standpoint, it's amazing. So I think, directly answering your question, when you get into the true essence, I'm still not worried. Now, what's the very hardest thing to do when we come up with a narrative? Like I typically hand a client this awesome deck, all these like narrative examples, like a messaging framework. They don't use it, right? They don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
So that's where AI is amazing. They can take it, they can upload that into AI, and now AI becomes your partner in creating content. And I still caution people, and I fall into this trap because I'm busy too. And I've got in my Monday.com, I've got write LinkedIn post, right? Do this, do that, right? And so like I can fall into that trap of saying, write me a LinkedIn post on blah, blah, and so we just need to be really careful with that. But at the same time, you now have this at least framework, this original narrative, this story that you can stay on point and stay consistent.
Yeah.
And you can train AI. There's a lot of really cool tools out there that are, beyond even just, Claude's great just out of the box, but like there's some tools out there like one I've experimented with from Elevator AI that's a brand and marketing specific AI overlay on top of AI, and you can, have clients and train it on each client's brand. They call it a brand bot, but all their brand attributes, and that you can have different people in there working, staying consistent, and that's where I think AI becomes really valuable today. Where's it going? I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, look, we are fickle. We're human. You think about, to this point, the history of creative content, and it's always changing, right? The second something's awesome or it works, the second our tastes in film, movies, popular culture, it shifts, right? Is that something that's always going to need to be human generated, or will AI be able to tap into the zeitgeist and to that, whatever that thing is that progresses popular culture, that progresses human thought? I don't know. And if it does, it does,
yeah.
Right? But I right now I don't feel that, and so I feel like being human and leveraging what AI is really good at is our big advantage right now, in a way to still make a living.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, there's been people are like, well, we're not going to have jobs. We're not going to, if it does everything for us. But the reality is it doesn't do everything for you. You still have to have your original thoughts, and you still have to have, especially for me, when I use it to, for instance, write anything, I'm usually writing like 75% or at least bullet points of what it is that I'm trying to convey. And then I can use it as an assistant to help me so that it's better, because it really can write really well. And if you give it the right information, but if you just sit down and say, write me a LinkedIn post today, I need it to be about marketing, like, you're going to get the most vanilla flavor unless you've trained your AI, which it sounds like you have. But I think there's a lot less people in the world. I think we all talk about AI a lot as agencies because we're kind of in it. We've got to be able to leverage it and we have to learn about it so that we are not obsolete at some point in time. But I think there's a lot more people out there in the world that are just literally putting their head in the sand when it comes to AI and saying, I don't want to, no, I'm not going to do that AI thing. It's a trend. There's still people out there like that. And I'm meeting a ton of people like that out there that are just putting their head in the sand and not paying attention. I think for agencies, that benefits us. That's where we can leverage AI, and people don't want to do it because it's scary, it's complex, or they feel like it's complex, even though I feel like it's not very complex. But, we can leverage that and use AI to our advantage as a service. Are you looking into using AI at all as a service?
For me to offer it, not right now, no. I mean, I think it's so interesting too, right? Because clients don't want the work to feel like AI, yet they want us to use AI, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And so it's an interesting challenge. I had one client who literally like last fall was like, I'll hire you, but I'm insistent on no AI. And this was someone that was very like tech forward, very like progressive, but they had felt like they were so knowledgeable about AI that they felt like AI hallucinates and averages to the mean. And so it's just like, I think right now everybody has opinions and no one really knows, right?
Right.
And so, no, I don't think of AI as a service, but that's primarily because that's just not something that for me, I would be good at, right? Like I'm not going to be good at like operationalizing someone else's business or doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Although I think there's great opportunity there. And I think that people really do need help in it. I'm just more interested in using it as a partner and things that like, I'm not good at. Like I love, like in my head, I wish I was like a designer, like I love design, I love aesthetic, but I'm not good at it. And even when I have like PowerPoint templates as an example, and I'm putting together like a huge presentation, it takes me forever. And I have a very big presentation right after this podcast that I've been working on for over a month. But like to create the deck, I did it in Claude. It took all my information. It took my template. It got really close. I mean, it saved me just so much time and headache, right?
Yeah.
And then, like even earlier this morning, I was going through it and just reading and double reading, because what I do find with all these AI tools is they're just way more, they produce way more content than I would ever for a project. And so like just reading and making sure I didn't miss anything is like, it's like a whole nother sort of responsibility and arduous task, because, like you said, that you got to read, you got to make it your own. You got to make sure like it all worked. And so did it take what I did in my Google Doc and put it in the PowerPoint, but it just saved me a ton of time. So, thinking about those things about like where I'm less skilled and where I can leverage it is where I'm at right now. And also trying not to worry about it. I mean, it's interesting that like, I don't have more time because of AI.
No,
like
you
I find myself, sitting and like this presentation I'm doing is probably about 5 times more robust than I would ever have done in the past. Yeah. But like, I just filled that time by making it 5 times more robust, right? Like,
Exactly. That's funny that you say that, because that's what I say too. It's like people, I don't know, somebody said to me, I think that AI is going to take over everything. And then eventually, what are we going to do? And I was like, it's not going to take over everything. It's going to take over those little tasks that you either 1, don't want to do, 2, are not good at, and then it's going to free up your time, and you're not going to not do nothing. We're humans. We have to have jobs. We can't just sit and do nothing, right? I know for myself, I can't sit and do nothing. So whatever time gets freed up gets filled up with more meaningful tasks or more complex, business development or any of those types of things. It frees me so that I can do more strategy and more things that I really want to do. So I agree with you. That was funny that you said that. That was one of my questions actually to you about that. Yeah. But yeah. Okay. So I have one more question that I'm going to ask. And this is more around mindset, because I'm a firm believer that your mindset is everything. If, the space that you live inside of your head, positive or negative, is kind of the output that you get in the world. So for you, what in your business life and personal life has helped you? Is it your mindset and how you think about the world and how you think about things that has helped to create your success?
Yeah, I mean, look, I believe in mindset too, and we were talking prior to the show a little bit. Like, I've been doing this a long time, and I've had ups and downs and things like that. I think that, recently I saw an artist friend of mine, Artie Sandstone, share his story, and he was talking about, and he actually had started as a pharmaceutical company. He's now following his dream as a pop artist. And he's very good. So like, if you're listening, go follow Artie Sandstone. But, he talks about how important it is just how to believe, right?
Yes.
And it's a little Ted Lasso. It's a little corny, but, that is probably the single biggest thing. And I've gone through phases, years of like, where I knew in my heart I didn't believe in like maybe what I was doing, but I was doing it because I thought that was better for either for the business or to generate revenue or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's like driving with the brakes on, right? And so I think just having belief and being okay with whatever that belief is. And so as a concrete example, my belief is I really believe in brand storytelling, narrative, the power of that for both individuals and the business. The problem I have is it's project based. Not everyone always believes that. I've literally over the last however long I've been doing this, 20 some years, like storytelling's hot, then no one believes in it and thinks it's BS, then it's hot, and then it's like it kind of does this thing, right? And like we're kind of in between now. Like your question's exactly, can I just do this with AI? Why do I need you? And as soon as I lose faith, someone calls me and says, hey, like, we want to work with you. And so I just think like, so it's been hard as an agency, right? And and then what that has done is that's had me go out and try other modalities, like being a fractional CMO, doing these things. And because like, hey, if I'm a fractional CMO, I'll have recurring revenue, I'll have retainer work, I can build this thing up, it'll be a better business. But you know what? Like, I don't really like marketing all that.
Yeah.
like and I don't believe in it. And it's not that I don't believe in it, that I don't believe it works. I know you have to do it. I think it's super important, but it's not a good fit for me. It's not like I'm not like genuinely curious about like, keywords and, and meta and paid advertising. Like I pay someone to do that. Right. And so where my genuine curiosity always is in that kind of that connection around that human connection. Like, how do we make that bridge between the human and the business, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. And so I go in and out struggling with that belief. There's like it feels to me like there's a ceiling from a business perspective on my brand storytelling and narrative business. But I've got to be okay with that. And so that's kind of what I was saying. Like that's my belief. I got to be okay with that. And when we bring that all back to your question about mindset, that like when I am in a good mindset about that helps a lot. Right. And so, and I do all sorts of other things. Like I invented these little cards that are like, call them today cards. And they, like you'll see, I put the date, I pull one of these each day. I put the date and 1, 2, 3, those are 3 things I'm grateful for. So I practice gratitude and each day, like, do that, kind of reset. That's how I start my day. And then I kind of do my to-do list and stuff like that. I still use project management tools, but a lot of times that's where a lot of my tasks go to die, right? Like, cause I just I put them on there and then I get this big thing. Like, what am I going to, and I think, I didn't show you, there's a frog on there, right? So it's like the frog is, like what, Mark Twain said, it's always best to eat the frog first thing in the morning. So like, what's the most important thing?
Yes. I love that. I love it.
So little things like that for mindset keep me focused. But I think, and I'll just kind of close out on this if you have any other questions. Like, I always have to remind myself that there is no like finish line. There's no winning this game of entrepreneurship, of work. And so just playing and continuing to show up every day and play the game, that's a win, right?
Yes.
And so like stay in the game. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. Some years are going to be really good, some might not. You're going to get some opportunities throughout your career that like are just amazing. And, you know, it's hard to be on top the whole time. I'll tell you that. And I've had some successes and I've had things that haven't gone so well, but stay in the game and just remind yourself that when you're in the game, you're playing, and that's a win.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great advice too, honestly, because you're absolutely right. Entrepreneurship, you think, okay, when I get to this, then this. When I get to this, then this. I thought that for a long time. And now I'm like, no, that's not the way it works. And you put it perfectly. It's just a constant game. You just keep playing. You win, you lose. There's no end. It's just the game. You know, I love that. It's great.
Yeah.
Well,
typically when you get the thing you want, then that's more problems.
Yeah. Right. And what is it that you want? Do you really want, you know, I always tell my kids, they tell me I want to do this. I want to do this. I'm like, okay. And my kids are older. They're grown. And if you want to do this, why? You know, I said, the biggest thing that you've got to know is, why do I want to open a business? What is it that you want to do? You want to open a business for what? What is the very end of the day reason why you do the things that you do? And then always design your life around that why. And so it's hard for them to understand that, because they're, you know, 19 and 29 and 34. They like the 34 and the 29-year-old, they can see it a little bit more than my son, who's 19, and he definitely goes down that road all the time. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be a little bit longer for you, boy.
Part of the journey though, right? I mean, it's easy to look back, but, you know, I think I was the same way, right? Like, you're trying to figure it out and trying to figure out those anchors in your life, and you know, and how to rationalize and make your work important and meaningful. Cause like, it's not easy, even sitting behind a keyboard every day, getting up every day, doing the thing, right? Like it's work. And so
it is.
And hopefully just there's more of the stuff that we enjoy than we don't enjoy.
Yes, right. Awesome. Well, thank you, Marc, for coming on the pod today. I appreciate your time and hearing your story. And where can people find you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm at wildstory.com. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I do have a Marc Gutman account that I don't really post too much anymore. That's all about brand. But if you want to follow my adventures or my running or my personal life, where all the things that are only my good things, none of my bad things, my fake life, as I call it, I'm on Guttyville, because Guttyville is my fictional place where everything's great, right? There's happiness and friends and outdoor activities, and so that's great. So or on LinkedIn at Marc Gutman. MarcGutman. Hit me up, mention if you want to connect that you saw me on Jennifer's podcast, and we'll go from there.
Great. Well, I appreciate you being on. I will have all that information in the show notes, and have a fabulous rest of your day.
Oh, Jennifer, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening to Own Your Next. Subscribe and share with friends. And remember, success isn't behind you. It's boldly owning your next move.